Hi, my name is Lily, and welcome to my podcast about my soul journey of how I decided to become a teacher, experiencing resiliency, and just kind of my own personal educational philosophy. So I will start from the beginning of how I chose to become a teacher. I came into college actually as a business major. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the time. But all of my family had small businesses growing up, and I thought maybe I'd do some sort of more creative small business. I wasn't really sure, but that just kind of felt like that's what I was supposed to do. And then my sophomore year of college, I studied abroad in the spring in South Africa, and while I was there, I took my Gen Ed art class. And at this time, I had already started taking some of my major classes, and I just wasn't really loving them. I was doing fine in them, but I just kind of dreaded and was bored by all of them. So I really, really enjoyed this art class, and it's still kind of funny to me that I decided to switch my major. Seems like kind of a rash decision, but I think it was all meant to be. I ended up deciding to switch my major to art. So I now had my junior and senior year to complete my art degree. So I took summer classes. I'd luckily already taken a lot of Gen Eds, and I just kind of took all art classes, which was a lot, but I ended up graduating on time, so it was all good, and I loved my classes my junior and senior year of college. So going into that, I knew with an art major, I didn't really want to just be an artist. I really wanted to have a career that meant something, that was important, that I could have an impact on people with, and although many artists could do that, I just felt like that wasn't what I was supposed to do. And I felt like teachers really made a huge difference in students' lives, and I really wanted to help other people experience their love of art and kind of have a similar experience to me. So that's why I decided I wanted to go into teaching. So I would definitely say I think of teaching as a calling. It's definitely more than just a job. I really feel like a lot of the talents and strengths that God has given me has prepared me for this career. For however long I do it, maybe it won't be that long, but I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be right now, and I think that teaching will also help me learn more about other people that are different from me, and it will be fulfilling and just really grow me as a person. So I think it will contribute to experiencing connection, community, and wholeness. So resiliency could be described as an attempt to deal with the lack of connection, community, and wholeness. So kind of thinking about it in terms of lacking that connection and community, I can think of a couple times in my educational and personal experience that I had to demonstrate resiliency. Specifically, I had to switch schools quite a few times growing up. I switched schools, I think, 4 or 5 times, and I never moved houses. So I was just switching schools. My sister has Asperger's, and my parents were often just trying to find the best educational fit for her, and whenever she moved to school, I would move as well. And so because of that, my friends would change a lot, and I had to be the new person at the school pretty often, and it usually wasn't when everyone else was new at that school, like middle school and high school. It was at odd times. And I also had to switch schools my senior year of high school, so going in as a senior, new, not knowing anyone, was definitely a little bit of a challenge. And then I also moved down to California all by myself, didn't know anyone, so I definitely feel like I lacked community and connection then, and even again now in post-grad, I feel like I don't have the same community I had in college, and my family is still in Washington, so I just don't have, it's harder for me to have that community here because I didn't grow up here and I don't have any family connections. But throughout those times, I feel like the best things that have helped me maintain resilience is support from people from afar, talking to friends and family on the phone, also just learning to enjoy spending time with myself, and a lot of reading the Word and praying. Whenever I was lonely, I would just pray or do something like that made me feel better, finding hobbies that I enjoyed, things to keep me busy. And I also think a big part of it is just remembering that it's just a season and it will pass. I feel like I've been the new person and felt lonely many, many times, and it always just lasts for a year or a couple months or whatever, and it always gets better. So I think I just try to remember that life comes in seasons, and there is a good season coming down the road. And I've heard a lot of horror stories about the first year of teaching. I know it's not an easy career, and sometimes it kind of freaks me out, but I know that I'm prepared to exercise this resiliency as a teacher. And some of those things will just be taking time for myself, a lot of prayer, and also having grace for myself when it's not going how I want it to. I think I can kind of be a perfectionist, and I have an idea of how I want to teach, what kind of teacher I want to be, and I know I'm going to make some mistakes, I'm not going to do the right things, and so I think it's just important to remember that. And also, in order to thrive in the role of a teacher rather than just survive as a teacher, I think it's important to take advice from other teachers that have more experience than me on their best practices as well. I think that's something I can really take advantage of as a new teacher, just asking as many questions as I can and learning how to be the best teacher possible. I feel like my personal experiences that inspired me to become a teacher are just teachers in my life that inspired me. I had a teacher in high school when I took human biology, and he really inspired me to be a nurse or in the medical field or something, and really made me believe that I could do it. For a while I was really thinking about going into nursing. Obviously that changed, but it just goes to show that he was a really good teacher. He made me believe in myself. He made me love the subject. And teachers can really make a huge impact on how you view yourself. And I've had multiple teachers that I've built a personal connection with, and they really influenced me and spoke into my life because I trusted them and I felt like they really cared about me. And as for social injustices that impacted my decision to become a teacher, I don't think it really impacted me in my initial decision, but now that I've been in this program, I've volunteered in schools, I've worked in a low socioeconomic area, it's kind of shown me how, there are a lot of problems with the educational system, which obviously nothing's going to be perfect, and there's a lot of great people, but there's a lot of problems as well. And I think a lot of ways we can improve it. So it kind of has inspired me to work in kind of with the underserved and the unprivileged, and kind of like have that be my service and work in those areas. And I think this program has really opened up my eyes to a lot of the problems I just didn't know, because I just didn't know that much about the educational system in general. So finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about my educational philosophy and how my experiences have impacted it. So I would say my current educational philosophy is that education should help the whole person emotionally, socially, and intellectually. I don't think it's just for gaining knowledge. I think it's for developing the person as a whole. And I also think that following student interest is really important. I think I learned that from switching my major. When I was in my business classes, I really just didn't enjoy it, wasn't inspired, didn't want to do my homework, all of that. And then when I switched to doing something I enjoyed, I loved school. And I understand that obviously students can't only learn what they like, but I think with every subject you can help direct it with student interest. So I think that's really important. And I also enjoyed school experiences the most when I got to know my teacher well, and felt like I was learning things that were relevant to my future. So I think that's taught me that I really want to develop personal experiences with my students as well. And I've been lucky enough to experience private school, public school. My brother was homeschooled. I went to a really small private school for a while with like a classical education. So I think it's been cool that I've got to experience quite a few different types of education. So I've seen some things I really like, some things I didn't like, and I feel like that has helped shape my philosophy, and I know it will continue to change as I start to teach. But yeah, that is a little bit about my journey from how I decided to become a teacher all the way to my current educational philosophy. Thanks for listening.